Welcome to Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. Got a really special guest here today coming to us all the way from Dallas, Texas. Dave, say hello to our audience.
Howdy.
Excellent. And as always, coming back, our co host, Don.
Morning.
Awesome. Awesome. So, Dave, it's called Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time for a reason because we like to dish about, stuff that happened in the 80s. So maybe start a little high level. Tell us a little bit about like you in the 80s. And if there's any kind of like funny anecdotal story you could pop in there, we're all ears.
Okay, great. I mean, I don't know how much of my life is funny. Perhaps the whole life is funny. But I mean, when I was in the '80s, I'm in Texas in the '80s. I'm at the University of Texas, and so I'm in college. And as of course, like any of us, when we're going through college, we're learning about who we are. I'm
Right.
trying to learn who I am, what I'm up to, and I was of the ilk that like, man, you know what? I've got this whole thing figured out. And I'm walking around campus like I know who I'm going to be. I'm going to run this campus. I'm going to make I'm putting the University of Texas on the map. And I'm running around with all these people, distinguished alumni, doing this, doing that. And I really don't even know who I am, but I'm acting a part out. And I think that I was a really good actor in the '80s. And so I really should have been on a sitcom. But actually, there I am at the University of Texas, just trying my best, like any other numbskull, trying to figure out carrying a workload and also getting my education at the same time. Who am I? What am I up to? And that's kind of like what I was doing in the '80s. And then I went to Harvard and I got my MBA at Harvard. So there's that part of an educational experience too, which is completely different than Texas. So you got Texas and you've got Harvard and you've got two completely different experiences that I was up to.
So are you originally from Texas, Dave?
I'm born in Dallas, but I was raised in Europe. So I grew up in Germany, but I'm originally born in Dallas, and I went to high school in Dallas.
Oh, okay. Okay. So when you were in Germany, how old were you approximately?
Yeah, I was 8 till 14 years old in Munich.
Ah, interesting.
What took you to
Yeah,
Germany?
yeah, my dad, my dad.
Oh,
Yeah,
your dad lived over there?
yeah. Well, he was working with the some government agency, and they moved us over there to do while he was doing some work.
Is he German?
No, no. My family's all Latino. They're from Puerto Rico, both
Oh,
mother and
okay.
father.
Oh, wow.
But I spoke German as a second language before I
No.
spoke Spanish, and
Cool.
my parents were bilingual, trilingual. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was my childhood. It was spent very interesting, idyllic childhood growing up in Germany and
Oh, I
traveling
imagine.
all over Europe and things like that. Right. So I think I'm that guy who kind of identifies as more European than I do American in a lot of ways. I have European sensibilities, and
Was
you know,
I imagine it was probably interesting living over there. It was it like a huge thing to try to get acclimated over there?
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm young at that age, right? I'm 8 years old. I think 8 year olds, snap, snap. Today, try and move me 2 blocks, and I'm like, whoa.
Did
Back then,
did you
back then,
make friends? A lot of friends over there?
yeah. I mean, I had tons of friends, and I went to the American school in
Any funny thing? Anything funny happen over there that you
again.
could share with us?
I don't know that I'm that funny, but I mean,
No, like a funny incident, something maybe that happened to you over there
I
that you
mean,
can recall.
I remember when they came, they were shooting the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and the director came to our elementary school that I was going to at the time,
Hmm.
he tapped kids and is like, "Hey, would you like to be in this movie?" And I'm like, "Wow, you know what? That sounds really cool." And so they offered, I don't know, 15, 20 of us positions in this movie, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. We didn't know what it was. We were just a bunch of idiot kids. And uh, we're like, I come home to my parents and they're like, I go, "Hey, I get a chance to be in this movie." And they have this release form, very formal and everything, you know. And my mom's like, "Are they going to make you be naked in that movie?" And I'm like, "What? Where does that come from?" And so, but no, they
Isn't
didn't
that a
require
G?
Naked.
what?
Wasn't it a G?
Yes,
Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was like a G?
of course it
She
was.
must have not read the name of the movie before she asked that question.
No, I just think it's Spanish paranoia. And she's just like, so anyway, but I convinced them that let me in it, let me do this, you know. And so yeah, you know. Now here's a funny story. When in the movie, I
Uh-huh.
was kind of like, they stuck me in the back of a classroom, and I was like, damn it, I want to be in the front seat, right? And I was in the back of the classroom scene, and I'm like, so I had a pencil, and I'm like, I'll get on that screen, you watch me. And I took the pencil and I threw it on the floor, and I reached over to get it in the middle of the filming, and I am doing that in the movie.
Oh, really? I'm gonna have to watch that movie again.
And that's me throwing my pencil on the ground and picking it up. So
I'm gonna have to watch that part.
I was a ham back then. I mean, I was just like,
Hey, tell us more about, because I'm not unfamiliar with Spanish paranoia. I mean, I'm familiar with like Italian moms that make over their sons and, that kind of thing. It's almost like the Jewish mom, "Oh, my boy, come here. Let me have some, here's some pasta, son." But tell me about the Spanish paranoia.
I think Spanish, well, I mean, I'm very Latino, and I think that the Latino culture, I was raised with like, fear, 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 fear. Oh my God, put a jacket on, do this, do that. Like,
I love
oh,
that.
the sky is going to fall. What if this happens? And that's what I was raised in. I was raised in constant, chronic paranoia about like the world's going to end when you walk out that door. So be ready for anything and for everything. I'm the guy who would go outside on a winter day, and I'd have like a sweater, a jacket, a vest, and people would look at me like, "What is wrong with this kid?" Right? I'm that kid. And but I think that Spanish paranoia probably also helped me in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, I grew up with that and overbearing kind of parental figures who, but listen, we're growing up in Germany. They were afraid of what might happen. Might I get snatched?
I've met parents like that. My parents were very, very like smothering in a sense on things like that. I actually have Spanish in me. I'm about a quarter on my mom's side, from my grandfather that originated, from Spain area and stuff like that. So he migrated over to Texas where he met my grandmother who came from Mexico. So I'm very familiar with that state of paranoia where parents are always worried, like where you're going, what you're doing, and some take it a little bit further than others. It's I have my brother, for instance, he's got a little bit of that in him, a lot of it, I should say, because when he goes places with his kids and stuff like that, it's like, I'm like, dude, you got to relax. Like, nobody's going to steal your kids. We're at the mall. Calm down. You know what I mean? We're all here watching him. But he's paranoid the whole time that somebody's going to try to steal his kid. And I'm thinking like, we're at a mall. There's not even that many people here. You know what I mean? But it's that, just something in some people, that innate reasoning that you think that something bad is going to happen all the time. They're always praying over you and stuff.
That's very Latino.
Yep.
That was my grandparents. My grandparents, like, were Catholic. So my grandparents, you'd go over to their house for Sunday dinner or whatever, and they would just have the rosaries out. And
Wow.
they wouldn't, they'd be watching the news, not talking, and just beat after beat after beat. And my grandma would make comments like, "I'm worried about something, but I don't know what I'm worried about. I need to look for a family member, and I don't even know what's wrong with them."
You're like pre-worrying.
Like
That's
yes,
pre-worrying.
like proactive worrying. And
Oh,
Well,
you know
they're
you're a good
worried.
worrier when you're pre-worrying about what you're going to worry about.
Yeah.
yeah, and then she'd be upset if she didn't have anything to worry about. I
Oh
mean,
my gosh,
like
that's
all the
funny.
questioning would always be like, "John, are you okay? Is everything okay? Are you getting enough to eat?" I mean, just like all just a constant state of fear.
I think, I think that's part of what happened in the 80s also. I think that parenting in the 80s looked like that, right? I'm a good
Yeah,
parent if I'm worried about
right.
my kids, right?
Yeah.
Parenting in the 2000s is like, where the are the kids? I'm like,
Yeah,
oh,
they went complete opposite, right? We don't even care. All these kids are coming up missing, letting kids run rampage, doing whatever they want. And then they sit back and wonder, well, why are the kids acting like this? Well, I mean, you can't leave kids alone.
I think the pendulum swung the
Maybe
completely
in the
opposite.
next 20 years, we'll go in like the medium of it
Yeah.
and see if we can turn it around.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I
wild.
think parents are always going to be like trying to figure it out.
Yeah. But it's interesting. Parenting in the 80s, when I remember it, it was a very different experience.
Oh,
We would
yeah.
gather together for dinner
Oh, yeah.
together. They wanted us always to be together for dinner, like be home for
Yeah.
dinner. And no one would have anything different on their plate than another. You're a vegan, eat that meat.
You eat what we give you, kid.
Yeah, right? Now it's like, I'm a vegan. I don't eat fish. I don't eat meat. And
I
it's
don't
like,
like cheese. I don't like butter. What? Who doesn't like butter?
I like butter.
My kids,
I
I
love
got
butter.
one kid that does not like butter. And it's
Mm.
like, how do you not? Are you an alien? I remember one time when my kid was younger, my daughter actually was younger,
Yeah.
and we were sitting at the table, and it was a few years ago. And I was like, we had guests over, and when I was talking about things like that, about how particular kids are and stuff and how they get kind of weird and stuff. And I told her, I was like, yeah, she's become an alien, she got her, she actually got her feelings hurt and like started to get teary eyed because she was like, I think almost took it literal, like when you're younger, kids, sometimes can't decipher between what's real and what's not. So when I was like, she's an alien, she was like, oh my gosh, like is there something wrong with me? And I'm thinking like, it's fine, and she literally, I had to like, calm her down and be like, it's okay. I didn't really mean you were an alien, but kids act like aliens. Like, you don't know sometimes, like, and it's like in the metaphoric form or thought, like, hey, I'm just saying this because that's how you're being, acting, to us, where we're just kind of like, even though we were kids, we still find the stuff weird that our kids do. And it's like, we were probably the exact same way, just about different stuff.
Oh yeah. I mean, I look back at my childhood and I think what a numbskull I was. I think the distinction is that today, if you used a term with your daughter, I believe you were talking about, and you
Yeah.
said, "Do you identify as an alien?" She might have then been able to like invest in that conversation.
Maybe.
You see, you have to use the nomenclature today. It's like the
Yeah.
nomenclature today is so different. I never identified as anything. I was just like, I'm Dave. Now
Yeah,
today it's like,
right. It was like we didn't even stop to think, who am I? What? Nothing. You didn't analyze yourself. You just were.
Growing up in Texas, we just had a swing set in the backyard,
Right.
and it was simple. Life was
And it was
simple.
awesome, right?
It was awesome. I thought that was fantastic. Hey, I'm going to go swing.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm going to take a walk around the block.
Yeah.
I've got a big night planned. What are you up to? I'm going to take a
Right.
walk around the block. I'm going to say
Simple.
hi to my neighbors.
Yeah.
I'm going to ride my bike around the block.
Simplicity of stuff.
Yeah. No cell phones or
No.
anything like that. So yeah,
You
totally.
get trapped in your head if you're not doing anything.
Today, you get a mirror into someone else's life very easily. You pick up your phone and you think as you scroll through it that these people have phenomenal lives. You're like, wow, wow, wow. Back then, there was no context of comparison. It's just like, I don't know. I assume every kid is riding his bike.
Yeah.
I don't know what anyone else is doing. I didn't particularly care what
Right.
anyone else was doing.
Yeah. Me neither. I
Today,
just wanted to have fun. You know what I mean?
yeah. Everyone's all up everyone now. It's like, did you see this person did this, said this, did this, talked about this? I'm like, I don't even care, but that's the thing of the 80s is I don't think
Yeah.
we cared so much about what everyone else was
Yeah.
doing.
Right. And
We
when you
didn't.
don't, that's where the fun happens.
Definitely. Hey, Dave, tell us about so when you went to work at Neiman Marcus, I mean, was that kind of a cultural shock for you when you started there at Neiman?
Well, I mean, you have to imagine, right? I'm this Harvard. I just graduated from Harvard, so
Okay.
all I have is a navy blazer and maybe like a camel hair blazer. That's my entire wardrobe. I mean, I
Right.
paid my way through college, so I'm not this rich kid. So I'm walking into Neiman Marcus with a navy blazer and like gray pants, right?
Did,
That's
did,
like,
did your blazer cost $500, Dave?
well, back then it probably cost $300. I mean, this is
Uh-huh.
this is many, many
It's
years
probably like
ago.
1,000 now.
Yeah,
Right.
this is 1985 now.
Okay, nice.
You're
Okay.
talking about 1985. I graduated from Harvard Business School, and so I walk in to Neiman Marcus, and I'm completely miscast, right? Because everyone there is so overdressed, over the top. The women, lots of perfume, and it's a woman's world, by the way. Neiman Marcus is a woman's world. It's like I would say 50% of the executives are female,
Okay.
50% are male. The males are very kind of old school males. The women are very over the top fashion, like icons, makeup, hair, like couture. And so I walk in there and I'm just this, oh, I have good taste and I know things intrinsically because I was raised in Europe. So I'm like, I understand things, like I have a sensibility of fashion and I don't know where it comes from, but I've got it. I've just got it, right? But there's a lot of nastiness in fashion. It's like entertainment. These people are bitchy. And I
Yeah,
don't
tell,
just mean,
tell us all about it.
oh, I don't just mean the women. I mean the gay guys in fashion are bitchier than the women. And there are a lot of gay
Yeah.
guys in fashion. So you're dealing with like this whole cultural thing
Yeah.
of like, I'm more fabulous than you.
Yeah.
And it's competitive in a way that I never understood competition. It's competitive posturing about who's got better hair, better clothes, better attitude, wittier, funnier. And it's like I come from a competitive Harvard Business School, which is like smarts, intelligence,
Yeah.
approach. And I'm now in the fashion world, which is about snap, crackle, pop. And I'm like, whoa, these people don't care how smart I am. I don't have to be smart. I just have to be
No.
cute. So I'm like, I'll be cute. So I'm like, wow, I'm gonna go look good. Started dressing up, started getting the right haircut, started throwing attitude around because I can sling it like anyone else. And I realized, man, that's the fashion business. Half attitude,
Yeah.
half intelligence. It's like entertainment. It's just like
Yeah.
everybody they want to be around people who are zip zip zip. That's what they want. And the designers themselves have relationships with Neiman Marcus, right? So Giorgio Armani, Gianni Versace, Louis Vuitton, Chanel, they want to have relationships with Neiman Marcus, but they want to deal with people they like. And if
Yeah.
they don't like you, you don't get the exclusives, you don't get this, you don't get that. So how you conduct yourself, very important in fashion. And I learned quickly, this little Harvard kid with the navy blazer became this designer kid who had the right haircut, the right glasses, the right everything,
Oh
because
my gosh. Yeah.
it was all part of
Mhm.
negotiation.
Any
Oh,
funny?
it is. It's a crazy world.
Absolutely. Any funny confrontational stuff happen when you're at Neiman Marcus? I mean, I
Oh
gotta
God.
believe like intensity at Neiman
Oh,
Marcus.
oh God. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, I had
Tell
a
us,
I
tell
had a
us.
situation. I had a situation where, oh God. Uh, I had this a boss, and he was horrible, horrible boss, and he was very nitpicky. And I was a vice president at the time, and he would come to me and he would say, "I want to know how many yellow belts we have in size X in North Park." And I'd be like, "Don't ask me. I'm a vice president. Ask the assistant buyer. I don't know these things, right?" And he would constantly do that, and I was just like, "This guy's nuts." So I was in my review, my annual review, and this is the way I don't know
Uh-huh.
how businesses work today, but back then you would go down for your annual review. It's so dramatic, and they've got the paper out, and they're going to review you, right? And my boss starts to review me, and I'm overcome with this just disgust, right? And I just say to him, "Stop." I'm talking now to a senior vice president. I go, "Stop." He goes, "What?" I go, "I'm not interested in anything you have to say.
Oh my God.
I don't even believe in anything you have to say. I don't even think you should be in your position. You don't know what you're doing." And all of a sudden I start getting angrier and angrier and angrier. And I said, "And in fact, you need psychotherapy." And so then I said, "In fact, I don't even care about this review." And I got up and I slammed the door and I
Oh my
left.
God, Dave.
That was how I used
Kids,
to be.
don't try this at
Next thing I
home.
know, the CEO is calling me, and he's a great guy. He became CEO of Macy's. His name's Terry Lundgren. Great
Yeah.
guy, really
Yeah,
good guy. Dave, he's like, "Dave, what? I heard something happened." And I'm like, "Yeah, you hired a numbskull to be my boss." And I said, "I should be his boss. He doesn't know what he's doing, blah, blah, blah." And
Yeah.
that was the way I was back then. I
Did
was
you
just,
get a promotion?
well, here's the funny story.
Okay.
I hope that I don't know who's going to see this video, but so the
Hopefully a ton of people.
executive vice president was out of town, and she came back in, and I loved her. We had a great relationship, and she's like, "Well, Dave, I understand what you're dealing with." She goes, "I get it. I get it." She said, "I'm completely sensitive to it." I'm like, "Thank you so
People
much."
skills. Listen to that.
And then she slips a little envelope in front of me, and she's like, "We'd like you to have this." I'm like, "Oh," and it's like a bonus check, right? And it's like, now
So
what
they're
we want,
buying you off.
what we
You
want you to do,
boss off and you got money for it?
yeah, what we want you to do is we want you to just stay calm, don't worry, everything's going to be fine. Just trust me. And I was like, I could trust you for this amount of money.
So they bought your silence.
And so what happened was, and yeah, because I'm a crazy Latino, right? They're like, "Whoa, keep this one calm." And so then what happened was that entire management team left. I mean, because this is how it is in business. And the next thing you know, there's a whole new management team there. And the new lady, who's the new executive vice president, calls me down to her office because by this time, my boss had been let go, and I wanted that position, senior vice president. So I'm sitting in her office, and she starts shaking like she's possessed by a demon. She's just like shaking. And I'm like,
Are you okay,
"What
lady?"
what is going on with you?" And she's like, "I have to tell you something." And I'm like, "Yeah." And she goes to me, "I don't like the way you handled your relationship with your last boss. You should just do what you're told." And I looked at her and I said, "I don't know who you think you are, but this big bad wolf thing that you've got going, it doesn't scare me. I'm not scared of you. A, I'm Hispanic. B, I'm gay. And C, I'm damn good at my job. So you just stay out of my way because you don't scare me." And that's the stuff that I dealt with in fashion. And then she
I
would look at
love
me,
it, man. I love it.
she would see me in the hall and she'd turn her head real sharp. She'd be like, she wouldn't look at me. And I'd be like, "Hey." It was just, that's what fashion was like. It was just snip, 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 snip. Everyone's bitchy and everyone's like clicking their heels.
So you were just playing the part then. I mean, if everybody's like that, I might as well be like that too.
I think you bring a good point. I just
Dave,
acquiesced.
that's a great
Hey,
story.
you
Wow.
got to fit in, right?
I had to fit in. I was like, I'll be a bitch too.
Yeah.
You want to take
I'm
me
gonna be
on?
pushed around because it's a dog eat dog world, right? You're gonna
That's
get
what it
pushed
was.
around and you ain't gonna push back. Then
Dawn, that's it in a nutshell.
Tough.
The thing is, right, I'm actually a really sweet, gentle guy. That's the weird thing. And it's like I had to take on this persona,
yeah,
and I didn't like who I became.
you're
And
right.
see, that's the
Yeah.
flip side of acting, right? It's like,
Right.
I don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to constantly be in confrontation.
Right.
I'm just a nice guy. I don't know. What is all this insanity?
So how
And-
long did you stay there?
I was in Neiman Marcus for 10 years.
Oh, so you did it get better? I hope.
I got a new boss and I loved her. She ultimately became the CEO of Victoria's Secret.
Oh,
Oh,
there you
wow.
go.
She was
Yeah.
very successful, and I really liked her. And one day, she was very funny, and she and I had a rapport. And one day she kicked her heels up on top of her desk. She was like a truck driver sometimes, and she said to me, "Why don't people like me? Why don't people like me?" She goes, "All these other female executives, they love them. Why don't they like me?" And I said, "Well, because you're kind of a bitch." I go,
To be honest, you're
I
kind
go,
of
"But
a
I
bitch.
like you. I think you're a hoot." I said, you got that tough girl thing going, Katniss Everdeen in the Hunger Games. I go, "You got this tough girl." I go, "I think it's kind of cute." But I go, "A lot of people don't get it, and you're kind
Yeah,
of mean." She goes,
yeah.
"I am kind of mean, huh?"
She's like,
I
but
don't
that's
know.
how I get done.
I thought she was fabulous.
That's why I'm at where I'm at.
But so
Okay, Dave, one last question, then we're going to end the show here. But okay, you are an executive at Neiman Marcus. You got a graduate degree from Harvard. You're a Texas boy who's been to Europe. You're a good looking guy. I gotta believe there's a lot of like females like hitting you up for dates and such. Am I correct?
yeah, I mean, you know, I think actually there are more now than there used to
There
be.
you go, Dave.
I, I don't know that it's like yippee yo. It's
It is what it is, man. It is what it is.
but I mean, I think that I always kind of managed those relationships well because I knew who I was, and it wasn't. I was never going to let it get out of control because I know how things can spiral out of control. And if anything, I held too tightly to the notion that this is my boundary, right? Because I think boundaries are great, and I had good boundaries. I'm like, not interested, right? And I had really good boundaries. But I think that, like, for instance, in college, I would pick because in college I'm trying to figure out it's not okay to be gay in the 1980s
Right.
in
Right,
college,
right.
right? And
Unfortunately, but
I
yeah.
don't necessarily come off gay or not gay. I just am Dave, right?
Mhm.
But I think that in college it's not cool. So I had women that I went out with in college, but I knew that I wasn't interested in consummating the relationship.
Mhm.
So I would pick born again Christian women who I knew didn't want to consummate relationships either. So
Yeah.
it was easy. I could be like, "Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I picked this really cute girl," and and I knew that that wasn't going to be a conversation. But I think when I was young, and I'm navigating, who am I? And I'm navigating who am I in the world that I live in? You become very clever, and I wish I didn't have to have been clever, but I had to be clever to
Mhm.
survive in the world.
Yeah.
And I think I gave up a lot of innocence that I think I would have naturally had to be clever and always thinking 3 steps ahead because I had to plan things and look at things. How am I presented in the world? How might people view me? So life became more a strategy than it did an expression of love.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But
Yeah.
I know this is not this is a comedy. And I'm sorry I got so serious, but
No, no,
No,
no,
that's
no,
okay.
no.
Hey, there's all kinds of comedy.
See, I think you're not telling us the truth. I think Dave came home to your house or wherever you were living at the time, and you had one of those answering machines on from the 80s, and it'd be like 12 left messages. It'd be like, "Hey, Dave, this is Sue. I didn't know what you were doing tonight, but I'm just kind of hanging out. Maybe we can grab dinner." And then you're like, "Okay, next one. Hi, this is Maggie.
oh
Hi."
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I,
That's
So
how
the
I think
joke was on them because it was like, they were like,
most.
I never knew. I never
well,
knew. All the
yeah.
chicks in college that you would hang out with, they never knew. It was like, so you were pretty clever then, right? I mean, think about it.
Oh
Clever, you didn't
gosh.
even know it because they didn't know.
Wow, isn't it crazy how survivor oriented we are as
Yeah.
children, how we create survival
Yeah.
skills and techniques that
It is.
serve us because
Yeah.
we're trying to survive. I don't even know
Right. Yeah.
who I
I
am at that time.
Yeah.
I'm just
And
like,
so I started writing a book here recently, my
Awesome.
my first novel. And,
Good for you.
my daughter was like, well, what's it going to be about? And I'm kind of going to use it based on some experiences. It's going to be fiction, but I'm going to, pull in some experiences and things like that. So I started writing it and everything. And I read her the first, couple pages the other day. And I was like, so tell me what you think. Cause I've never written, like at this at all. I just been starting to tinker with it and dabble in it and stuff. And she was like, wow, like you actually are an amazing writer. She's like, I just felt like I was reading a Nicholas Sparks book.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is the comedy of life, is to realize how ridiculously serious we were.
I mean, seriously, like we live as humans every day as if we're immortal. Like we don't have the consciousness of mortality on our brain that we can die in any minute. So we live these lives every single day as immortals when in fact we're actually mortal. And
Yeah.
And when you do that and you laugh about a lot of stuff, you live a much happier life.
I studied with a Buddhist community in New York, and my Buddhist mentor in New York, he was a great. I lived in New York for 10 years, and my Buddhist mentor was a great guy. I mean, just like he was like Mr. Miyagi in The Karate Kid. And
Oh, there you go. That's from the 80s, Dave. Way to go.
Wax off.
that's from the 80s. And wax on, wax
Yeah,
on.
right.
And he would say to me, like the problem with people is they think they're going to live forever.
Yeah.
And he's like, and you're right. It's like when you look at life differently, and he was such a happy guy.
Yeah.
He just had already understood that he was.
Well, that's why he was so happy, because he
yeah,
understood.
yeah. And oh man, I loved my Buddhist. I was the only white person. Well, I'm Hispanic. I was the only non-Asian person in my Buddhist community. I'm serious. It was all. They were all from Taiwan, and they were all. And so, and a lot of them didn't even speak English, and they would do their Buddhist lessons in Chinese, and we would go to Chinatown for these Buddhist lessons, and I would walk up 4 flights of stairs in an old rundown building that you could smell the garbage from, and I would walk into a little Buddhist temple that was created on the top floor of this dilapidated building that was gorgeous. This Buddhist temple, it was like, oh, all of a sudden you smell incense, you've got flowers, all this stuff, and I'm like, oh wow, this is in the middle of like the barrio. And these people were the most wonderful people I ever met. And they would talk in Chinese, and then they would translate for me in English. There would be a translator who would, and they thought it was so novel that this person who wasn't Chinese was so interested in what they were doing and what they were saying. And talk about cultural blends.
Right.
Wonderful.
Hey guys, we're getting to the end of the program, and this is the part of Schools Out 80s where we promote. So Dave, you're doing some really exciting stuff, and you're our guest, so you're going to get to promote what you're doing right now. And then Dawn, of course, you'll get to promote, and I'll be last. But Dave, go ahead, tell everybody what you're doing now.
I wrote a book, and
promote your book.
I wrote a book. It's not particularly funny. It's called. It's called Still Point. Inner Peace is the New Success. Talks a little bit about my journey of finding inner peace, because as you can already tell from my story, I had a wacky background, and so I wrote a book, and I'm working on my second book, which is the Chronicles of a Harvard Misfit, and that's the second.
Oh,
book.
That's cool. That sounds interesting.
That's the next book that I'm working on right now. But I'm on Instagram, Harvard_Misfit. And if anyone wants to follow me, that'd be awesome.
We'll put that in the show notes. Dawn, go ahead. Tell everybody what you're up to.
Okay, so I have a lot of different things I'm dabbling in right now, but my biggest thing that I'm doing is I just ventured into real estate. But it's the thing that of my main point of interest right now, as far as, finance driven, income and stuff. So I'm hoping to, bring in a lot of clientele. So that way I can get more and more experience through serving. I've only been doing it actually actively for a couple weeks. I have had my license for a few months, but
Yeah,
with my
yeah.
other businesses, I've been busy, but I've already getting clients flooding in. And I'm so familiar with the loan side, the financial side, because I own my own independent contract processing company for
Right.
mortgage loans. So I'm so versed in the loan side that people are starting to be drawn to me, because I'm not only able to help them on the real estate side, I'm kind of like their liaison between them and their mortgage company. So I'm helping them with all their paperwork. So they're like, wow, this is actually becoming an easier process when I have somebody that knows both sides of it, that can walk me through everything. So, but anyway, that's what I do. I'm on, I have a website that will be posted up afterwards, so people can reach me through there to do that. I do fitness, I'm like been into fitness for a long time, so considered kind of like a fitness guru and nutrition guru and things like that. And I do actually have links on there where people can chat with me to hook up with me to get some information on that, as far as, helping them, stay fit and things like that.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'll go ahead and promote what I do. Hi, my name's John Sales Warrior, and I've been professionally selling for 32 years. And I know over that time period, it can be difficult to stay motivated. You have to stay motivated come Monday morning. And that Monday morning, you need to be able to send emails, make phone calls, make the follow-up phone calls, and schedule the appointments. But more importantly, be relaxed and ask for the business and believe that you're going to get the business when you ask for it. And that little bit of time between taking action and not taking action, that's what I help with. I help with giving you the fire so you can take action. And by taking more action, you can get more results. That's what I help people do. How do I do it? Simple. I have a book on Amazon. It's called Sales Warrior. And I have a course on Teachable. It's called Sales Warrior Bootcamp Module 1. And it's a 3-day boot camp. It's a lot of fun. It includes instruction, inspiration, audio, video, and worksheets. And it's designed to be taken in 1-hour action blocks, because I know it's hard for people to take 3 days to learn all my wisdom. So I made it easy. All you do is take 1 hour each day until you've completed my course. It's foundational in nature, and it can be taken over and over. The great thing about my course is that once you sign up for my course, you get monthly information and inspiration from me, because I want to stay connected to you and I want to continue to inspire you. And there's no added cost to do that. Now, right now, I have my Sales Warrior Bootcamp on sale. My Sales Warrior Bootcamp is normally $3.99. I have it on special for $1.99. And with it, you get my book for free. That's it. Thanks, guys. Man, awesome show. Don, as always. Dave, you're a great guest. Didn't know where the train was going, but we stopped at a lot of places and it was a lot of fun.
It was awesome. I had a
Thank
great
you.
time.
Thanks for having me on your show.
All right. Thanks, Dave. It was nice talking with you.
Nice talking to you.
Awesome. So we'll sign off. Dave, go ahead, then Don, then me. Go ahead, Dave. Tell everybody goodbye.
Oh, adios.
Awesome. And Don?
All right. Bye, everybody. Take care and enjoy your life.
Excellent. Excellent. And this is going to be a wrap for Schools Out 80s Comedy Story Time. Cheers, everybody.